society needs people that are willing to fit inside the box, because that's how the machine keeps going.
Yeah.
But if you don't fit inside that box, and you are a person who realizes you don't fit inside a box, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can do and be anything that you set your mind to. My mom used to say, I don't care if your happy place is raking leaves, and you're the best leaf raker out there, and you make a living, good for you. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
That's all, you know. But so, you know, this idea that you said something, which was like you're trying to figure out how these pieces connect, right? And sort of what it becomes. Here's some of my sage wisdom for you, which is that don't try to figure it out. Just keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. Say yes to opportunities, yes to learning, yes to meeting new people. And you know what? It's going to come.
Welcome to the Fifi Uncensored podcast, episode 115, part 2, with our guest, Ashlee Petersen, as we sit down and talk about take up space and make a difference. Happy holidays, everybody. It has really been a year of reflection and a year of growth and expansion, and it's really been all about powerfully shining light on people who have overcome and succeeded, and especially in more recent times with regards to powerful women. And on my journey, aligned with other people's journeys, it's really been a joyful time for me to be able to sit down with these individuals and share some heartfelt moments of things that have created their reflections, their success, and moving forward, their whys. I love that you are part of being able to hear these conversations. I love being able to share these conversations. So grab that cannoli and grab that coffee, because here we go.
You know, I'm not anti-men, but I am pro-women. And I am pro finding your voice, regardless of gender, right? Regardless of sexual orientation, all of that, race, all of that. Find your voice, take up space. Mm-hmm. Don't stay small. And you know, when I at about 7 years sober, since you brought up trauma, right? Trauma is such an interesting subject for me, because there's like big T trauma and little T trauma, and most people only want to talk about big T trauma because it's like normalized in the sense of, like, you know, God forbid, sexual assault, physical abuse, you know, but like the little T trauma can be equally, if not more so, damaging, because there's this sort of shame associated with being able to say something hurt your feelings, or an interaction changed the way you feel about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that I miss the least about being in the industry, because although some things have changed and some things are just systematic and they're just the culture of the industry, and it's about making money, right? Mm-hmm. So the human condition is replaceable and disposable, because there's always somebody else there waiting to do your job for the sake of completing the project, to make money for, you know, the huge corporations behind them. But when I was about 7 years sober, I'll never forget this moment. I was getting off the Wilshire exit on the 405, and I was listening to CNN. And there was something going on at the time around all the Harvey Weinstein stuff. Mm-hmm. And I had this, like I almost couldn't breathe when I realized that when I was 19 years old, I had been preyed upon, groomed, and sexually assaulted by a producer repeatedly on a show, and there was no place to go with it. It was normalized. It was like it wasn't normalized, it just wasn't discussed. So it was like, he was my boss. Where was I going to go? Who was going to believe me? All of these things that took place. And it took, so if I was 41 when I got sober. So I was 48 years old. And it took that long for my brain to allow my body and my brain to connect what had happened. And by the way, it was not okay. It was not okay that I didn't have a place to go. It was not okay that I went through that.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. First off, I'm so sorry that you went through that. And to your point, how you compartmentalized that out of a survival mechanism because you didn't have a safe place. And how unfortunate that this innocence was basically and excitement was taken away from you, even if you compartmentalized it to the point where you didn't have it. And this is the thing I say to people: if this was your child, what would you have done?
Mm-hmm.
If you knew that your child was going through that experience, if your mother had known you were going through that, now what could they do? I don't know, but to give you comfort, to give you a sense of like you've got other options. There's lots of scenarios in all of that backstory, right? But the fact that you said you didn't have a safe place, and I think, I don't know what other industries are like to work in, whether it's banking or being an attorney, or God knows each environment has their own slew of shit. But this industry that people will trip over themselves and knock you out and stab you in the back and still show up and grab the award is more typical than people would like to realize. And I say you could have somebody breaking bread at your dining room table, and the next week they're like stepping all over you, and I've seen it firsthand.
Right.
And right. Dumbfounded, and it's not that I sit here saying I'm dumbfounded, but it was dumbfounding at the time, and it's certainly not the way I was raised. But yet, yeah. we are. I call the industry a gathering of arrested development.
Totally, and you're constantly in survival mode. I mean, feast or famine, right? It's like there, and. And then there's this certain shame, right? That like, oh, well, you need work because you're out of money. It's like, well, you should have saved better. It's like, save better? Like, I'm just trying to survive, right? Yeah. And, so that, but there was like shame attached to that, right? Like the fact that you need work, the fact that you need to bring money in, somehow it means you've done something wrong. Because right. Because you should just be able to like continue to be okay and persevere.
Yes, please take a moment. No, and it's I'll carry that for a second. This is part of why, and I really recognize this at the beginning of the pandemic and till now, especially having had these strikes and having gone through the cancer that I went into then when I went into remission is when the strike occurred. So I personally haven't, for the first time ever in my career, been able to work, and yet had my own leisure. I have my online athleisure brand. That is an opportunity to help other women. It's like you said, you're not anti-men, but you're pro-women. And now going through this particular journey after having other stuff that I've been through. And yeah, being pro-women. Why? Because I find in moments like this, it's very defining what people's real truths are. And my takeaway is there's more limited belief than there's not in an industry like this than people would ever want to recognize in themselves, let alone in a collective. And with that, it's kind of like, as I referred to it, the crab in the bucket mentality, where the crab's trying to get out because they just want to do better. They want to do more. They want to create. They see this. And the rest of the crabs are like, where are you going? Get your ass back in here.
Stay in the bucket.
Stay in the bucket. Dim your light. Don't speak up. You know your place. Stay in your place. And it's all based upon fear and insecurity. And I did not get into this industry. I thought I was getting into this industry to be with a bunch of visual intellects who love telling story and were going to entertain through emotions of laughter and depth and all the things, and be this collaborative art that we, did this dance with. One, I didn't know I was walking into a men's locker room. I didn't know that. And I was trained in this world. I didn't know that.
Right.
Was I incapable? No, I wasn't incapable. I was more than capable. And I came in as a department head and had to hold my own as one of 3 women on a film set. And it's very interesting because I find culturally or in history that there's a lot of people, and especially women, that do not know. You talked about your mom being a trailblazer. My mom was also a trailblazer. And I bore witness to the combination of everything from your civil rights to your women's rights and voting rights and all those things. And when you're barely 60, you're just like, yeah, but that's what happened, along with a few assassinations and a war and, cultural and religious wars. And like, so people think this shit's crazy now. It was crazy back then. And it's sad that history is repeating. And how there's a lot of women who don't understand the history of the shoulders they're standing on. Right. And again, this is another conversation I repeat, not to hear myself repeat, but there's a reason for it, to say we should be raising each other up. We should be helping each other expand. We should want each other to be using our voices more. We should be celebrating each other versus being in fear of how they're getting ahead. We should be saying, you are more than one thing in life. You can actually do more than one thing in life. If you can be a mother and a wife, or a single mother and a career woman, or you're, X, Y, and Z and xenon, so to speak, you are capable of doing whatever you decide to do. What I found starting with the pandemic and doing things messy when I said yes to doing my athleisure brand online was, oh my God, what are people going to think? And I really held myself back from that imposter kind of limited belief of what I was concerned about with everybody else. The truth of the matter is, even if that's all on me, which it wasn't, that's just, there's no truth to that. Even if there's like, I'm surrounded with insecurity and fear, am I going to let that stop me? Is that going to serve me well? No, on the contrary, the opposite. And if the industry hasn't proven that as much great things it is, there are things that, even with the strike, I started to go, when are people going to wake up and realize they're not valued?
Right.
When are they going to wake up?
Or that they can do something else.
Hello.
But I think we become a slave to the money. And that I could not get off the merry-go-round because I didn't know how to financially support myself on any other. There was nothing else I could do to keep a roof over my head.
Right.
Like, my lifestyle had become dependent on the money I was making in the industry. Right. So but we did watch things change too in the industry. I remember when I started working with Ashley Judd as her personal, I would go in and I'd be like, this is my rate, this is what I'm making, and they would pay it. And this is my kit, and this is my overtime deal, and they'd pay it. And then all of a sudden there was all these like new deals, movie of the week contract, all of these low budget contracts, and suddenly like they don't want, like, somehow like we were making less money. We kept making less money, and they wanted more from us for less. And that's really where I was like, I got to get out, but I don't know how. I mean, people are we have friends. Sorry, I just want to say this. That will see me, and they'll go, "Oh man, Ashlee, how did you get out of the industry?" I go, "You don't want to get out the way I got out, but there is a way out. Like, I don't wish it upon anyone, but I am so grateful for this tremendous challenge and obstacle that this burden that I had of my addiction actually was my freedom."
Completely. And I love that you use that word, because I wanted to use that word about 40 minutes ago, based upon something, based upon the evolution of what you were talking about once you got sober and stepping into this new position of, this like new pair of glasses, because it is freedom and it is work.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to wipe your ass. You got to wipe it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate to be so truck driver, uncoy.
No, but
it's true.
It's like, nothing worthwhile is easy. Nothing. And, and if it is easy, I bet you there's a catch. And you may not know what it is yet, but you're going to find out.
100%. It's like a setup. It's kind of like walking into the very gregarious world of narcissism. Of just, the smooth talk. There is no such thing as smooth talk, girl.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to life and pivots, so, you come out of the bathroom and I'm writing where did I go? I was writing pivots, courage, and the willingness. Hello.
Yeah.
Those are three key components. The pivot is huge. And I don't know if it was yesterday's post, but I was talking about people's ability to stay present mindfully and know that, there's a basis of, we have lots of little wins throughout our life. And we have to know how to like train that muscle to keep showing up and creating those wins. But in creating those wins, you're going to skin your knee a lot. Like, it doesn't mean you have to. The likelihood is, in order for you to know how to really create that, you're gonna have some problems to solve. And to your point, when the pandemic hit and I got to observe in these last 4 years or 3.5, whatever years, since all this shift in my own personal journey, it has been really interesting to see how people are stuck. And people,
it's antiquated, isn't it? Like, they just want things to go back.
Yes.
Like, I just want to get back to work. It's like, you just want to get back to work, but like, sorry, my phone's ringing. I'm sending it to voicemail. But nothing, what if nothing's changed? Like, by the way, on the subject of the strikes, like, the IA contract is about to come up in June. And even though I'm not in the union, I still track, because people I love and care about deeply, yourself included, are still involved in the industry. So I always kind of am aware of what's going on. I'm like, do you think that anything positive is going to come out of an IA contract up for negotiation? Like, no one, I mean, I'm sorry, and this may not be a popular topic, but the industry wouldn't tolerate YA crews walking out for 6 or 9 months.
Oh no. Oh no, no, no. I'd like to, I would imagine that there'd be a lot of belief that they could all be replaced.
Right. So this idea of like, I just need to get back to work. I just want to get back to work. I just want everything to be back. You know, I want the money coming in. I want the income stream coming in. It's like, well, but what if nothing's changed?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's, I get up when I have to get up in the dark to go to something, like, you know, because we have horse shows, we have to leave at like 3 o'clock in the morning, right? I have like PTSD.
That
I have to remind myself that, like, is there, like, I still have this like trauma response in me. Like, if we're coming home from something and we're driving all night and I'm watching the sun come out, trauma response. I got to leave in the dark, 3 a.m. the alarm's going off, trauma response.
I get it. I get it. You know, it's funny. Last January, when it was the end of last December after my surgery, and thankfully they had gotten all the cancer out, but they were like, we've got to give you chemo to make sure microscopically. And I was not up for the game. I was just like, yeah, that's, you're talking to the wrong person. And they're like, no, we get it, but we're asking you. We're asking you because you've got a really good chance of living. And the chances are really slim for a lot of women. So, like, that's why we're asking. And so I had to, you know, I had to agree to something I did not want to do. It was, I literally had stuff lined up through the end of March. So I left something in November. Yeah. I left
Gig.
something in
You were on
November.
gig.
Yeah, I left something actually December 1st. December 1st, I think was the last day I worked. And I, you know, everybody thought I'd be back first week of January. And I wasn't on a series. I was on, you know, a big movie and doing some big commercial work and just was in a really good flow. Didn't realize other people weren't, but, you know, God willing, there's been that, you know, good career in that way. But to that point, you're waking up in the middle of the night, you're going home in the middle of the night, you're doing all these things. And I remember I had to call the few key people that I was already, you know, the few key people that I was lined up with for the year, beginning of year, before people were even like, even though they knew that there was a possibility of strikes, they weren't they weren't thinking that way. You know, most of our peers just, they don't even know the first thing about our business, and they've been in the business goddamn 20, 30 years, and they still don't know shit about the business. And it dumbfounds me, completely dumbfounds me. So anyhow, I remember it was the 5th of January was my first chemo treatment, which was a Thursday. And I was my first day was supposed to be January 6th, back to work after the holidays. And I, of course, had to back out because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to feel like. And this is just too unpredictable. And, you know, this is not what I do. And they're like, of course we know this is not what you do, but we want to honor you. Like, do what you got to do. I will tell you, it took a team of people for me to mentally give myself permission to put myself first. And I'm all about self-care. I'm all about self-care, but I'm grateful. It's not because you had to take me off a chandelier. It was because of my responsibility, of my commitment, and how I consider myself dependable, and that you can count on me. And when I say yes, I will be there. Well, to that point, I think it was the following Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday, when I knew that I would have been showing up at the crack of dawn, walking through the gate of Warner Brothers at, you know, anywhere between 2:30 and 4 a.m. And I'm waking up now at like 4:15, 4:30, I don't remember what it was, completely ill, from the chemo and going, oh my God, if I had to have woken up a couple hours before to get ready, be in the car and parking lot and going through the gate, and all of a sudden I was going to get sick because I didn't say me first, I'll keep working, which I could have, but I knew better. And I knew better through then a series of, you know, permission, my own house, not permission, but like space to go, babe, you're okay. We've got this. Okay.
Go take care of yourself. Right.
Yeah. The PTSD mentality I so get, because I remember thinking, oh my God, I would not have been the dependable Felicia that people think of as a pitch hitter or whatever. And I thought, well, yay that I said no. And as the year progressed, Ashlee, or as the time progressed, I was more and more and more grateful that I had put myself first through that whole experience. And when I was then in turn coming and stepping into remission mid-May, when the strike occurred, wow. Because the pandemic was already still out there. And then it was like going back and forth work. And then work was flowing. And then the diagnosis occurred. When I was so in this mindset, because again, I had already done this work before my diagnosis. So ironically, this time last November, I had so many women looking at me going, I don't know what pill you're taking, but I want it. Well, what they didn't know was I'd worked really hard to lose over 50 pounds and be strong again and heal my meniscus naturally and not do surgery and put myself in the pool and make a decision to lose weight and stay committed to that. That takes work. That didn't just happen overnight. But by the time I was where I was at right before my diagnosis, I'm not going to lie, I was feeling, I'm going to swear, I was feeling so fuckable it couldn't be, you know, like in my own skin, not for everybody else, for my own happy, I feel good, I feel strong. I will always be as sexual as we all were. It's not about the sexuality or anything. That's not my point. It was for me to feel healthy and strong and that I had healed myself. But I wasn't just healing my meniscus. I was healing everything. And my weight has been a concern for me off and on, or for other people have put it in my face. It's a concern since I was 3 years old. Put it in my face. I was not good enough. You're not smart enough or good enough because you're overweight. Oh, so now you're going to identify my weight before my abilities or my success, or so that was always a looming thing in my world since I was a little bit. So I thought it was really interesting how these women were responding, because it was like, I'm happy to help you if you're wanting to do the work. But it's amazing how many people don't want to do the work. And I don't know about you, but nothing's been handed to me. I wasn't like, I didn't know somebody who knew somebody and gave me a job.
Right.
I've always had to earn it. I didn't even understand and know the conversation, your network is your net worth. That wasn't something that was talked about in my household. Yeah, sure, connections, I get it, but we were all like family businesses. We were all like in our own, you know, and then saw that stuff come and go. And then even with my mom being a trailblazer, she still stayed in a very, stable situation, which was being a public school teacher with a master's and did other jobs, but didn't get to be the attorney she wanted to be in her early 20s. She was sent home and told to be a mom and a wife.
Right.
And she was educated in the 50s with a 4-year liberal arts, 2 years younger than Ruth Bader Ginsburg, very easily could have become an attorney, should have become anything in that position, but was told to go home. So kind of full circle, all these opportunities, these pivots, these positions, these recognition, these realization moments, these moments that we're faced with in life that we make decisions. like yourself, with these series of events, I continue to personally make decisions, not to go, hey, look at what I'm doing. No, I hope it's to be of inspiration, frankly. I hope
Right,
it's to say, if I can do it, so can you.
right, right,
Right?
right. To be an example, to show some, to be able to like, it's like living proof
Yeah,
that it's possible.
correct. Correct.
Whatever
And
it is
correct.
possible, right? Doesn't
Correct.
matter.
It does not matter. You can put anything in place of. It's all the same. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter if it's learning how to ride a bike or learning how to cook pasta or learning a
yeah,
healthy lifestyle or learning how to have great communication or learning how to make six figures or learning to go out and, be a part of the Peace Corps. It doesn't matter. It's whatever resonates. I know for me, like yourself, there is this thing inside of me that I do like helping people. I don't know what that shows up looking like. I don't ask for that, like, show me the huge picture. But more now than ever, I've been like, okay, wait a minute. This all keeps funneling in this direction. I've been told to go back to med school. My friends who are licensed therapists have told me to go get
mm-hmm.
licensed. Like
Mm-hmm.
all the things that people know me for, on top of all the things doing. And I know and want to cross the finish line regarding the film world, regarding
Mm-hmm.
what I mean at this point, and knowing that I also know from being here for the last year and what was going on in the pandemic and observing and being very clear for a very long time, years, what this industry is doing and has done and how it could heal itself, but isn't going in that direction at all. And it's too much, like when like several people this week I've heard describe now, it's like going to be like the Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
And,
totally, right?
I mean, that couldn't be for anybody, and this is not about you and I right now. For anybody who's hearing this, who knows what healing's about, and knows what recovery is about, and knows what being in non-toxic environments are about, this is the big sad unknown at this juncture regarding this industry, because work stoppage does not make for, okay, everybody now go to summer camp for 8 weeks and go through
Right,
recovery while this is all getting figured out, so y'all can come out and talk a different language, right?
right, right, right. Your value
That
system, right? Maybe we're gonna all have. Maybe we need to evolve. Yeah. No, I mean it's so true. I think like when SAG settled or resolved their, I'm not going to say settle because I don't know that that's but when they reached an agreement,
mm-hmm.
um, all I could hear in my mind was like the starting gate at the horse races,
Oh my
and
god.
they're off. That's all I could hear. Like, here we go, right? And I mean, listen, the irony is not lost on me what I do for a living now, because I work with a lot of high-powered executives and industry folks that are, I hold a safe space for them to work on their own things where they want, but like just experiencing the energy ripple that's
Mm-hmm.
gone through since the agreement was reached, it's like, I'm, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm like holding my breath. Like I feel like it's like the potato sack race, and everyone's going as fast as they can, falling all over each other to get who's going to get there first, who's going to get the first show into production, who's going to get the first set of jobs, and I'm like, I'm so I'm listen, I will take being broke, worried about feeding my horses, whatever it is that becomes part of my reality today over that, because I can't live in that space anymore. That space does not serve, that life doesn't serve a healthy purpose for me anymore. And I just want to like normalize it. Like, that's not a healthy world. I thought we were making some headway during the pandemic around the industry and having conversations about mental health and substance use and all of this stuff. And like, people needing time to be with their families, and everyone was so grateful that they didn't miss birthdays and all of that. And then it was like amnesia.
It was not only amnesia, it was even more than that. Because you were talking about, you were hoping, like you said, that you landed on ground zero for everybody to get normalized, whether it was for mental health or how we communicated or how we included everybody and made it welcoming. But what ended up happening was you created more separatism, you created more divisiveness. There was, especially in our peer group, there was way more like things that people went through that was just shameful, and there was no balancing act. And what, to your point, I've witnessed is that with even an opportunity to help other people make a living, they do not want to get unstuck. They are truly defined. And look, okay, I honor that. So, I know what I've been doing for all these years. Am I defined as that? No. You know why? Because it's not because I'm totally not committed. If anybody's seen my work or see me at work, you fucking know I'm committed. But to that point, I also know that like I described, is I'm a layered onion. And the truth is it wasn't until the pandemic where I actually had time to have that space to come up for air, to reflect. Not because I hadn't been reflecting, not that I hadn't been building. No, on the contrary. A decade ago, I was trying to build a lifestyle brand when I went through my second bout of thyroid cancer and continue to build that. And then ironically, when my mom got sick in 2017, and I've been working 80-hour weeks and going back and forth between the Midwest, and now moving her across the country and going back and forth to the desert while working 80 hours a week. And like, there's very little time for you when you've taken care of everybody else after these long days, long weeks, and everything else and everyone else. So that pandemic, though I was mourning the loss of our mom who had died 2 weeks before the country shut down, going back to my number one and taking care of him, not sitting Shiva, putting him first, going back to a team of people who were not nice, very unhealthy. Felt very isolated for no reason. Ashlee, it was like stepping into a pool from day one where it's like, I haven't even said a word, and I'm already feeling like I've just been walked into the ovens. And I'm not going to even go there with the temperature of the world right now. But that's what I was feeling back in 2019 and early 2020 with certain energies that I was around, going, I've been hired by this person. You're not even offering me information. I'm totally self-sufficient because I know how to be. But you're still this toxic wasteland that keeps getting rewarded for what you do, which is nothing other than make people's lives miserable. And it's interesting because I understand the science of all of this. And I am grateful for the space that has given me more time to get quiet and get clear. And though I didn't ask for something like a cancer or to tell my story in the way I have, what I hope and feel is that not only have I inspired and shown what's possible, like you have shown what's possible in a public social media sort of way, just in the sense of your evolution. And for those who know you or don't know you or getting to know you, and now to know and like you and to trust you, as I hope is felt in my direction, it's caused me actually to take all these elements and interests and go, okay, how do I really authentically piece this together? Like,
Mm.
because right now I may have life experience and I might have professional experience, but there's something missing in this equation that I need for the sake of authority and official, where I could be in anything from a Forbes 500 company to a hospital to working with studio heads or one-on-one. And so with that being said, and give back and be a purpose, but also have a business.
Right. Make a living
And bridge that gap and bridge that transition and bridge that future self and all those things. And do and be the legacy that I always imagined when I was 18. I would say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, but I'm praying it's gonna leave a legacy of inspiration long after I'm gone. I would used to say that. So I'm now in the process.
Come here.
Of
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
My dog's chasing a cat. You stay right here. It's like Tom and Jerry through my house. Sorry.
Hysterical. No, so I'm now certifying. I'm now building a course and taking my practice of mindfulness, and which is an international certification.
Good for you. Yeah, I mean, good for you. Like, I just got goosebumps. I did. It's so it should serve as, I will hope, I'm not a big you should or it should, or that's my mind isn't, but I hope that it serves as an inspiration, right? So there's people that fit inside a box.
Yeah.
Society needs people that are willing to fit inside the box, because that's how the machine keeps going.
Yeah.
But if you don't fit inside that box, and you are a person who realizes you don't fit inside a box, that's okay. You can do and be anything that you set your mind to. My mom used to say, I don't care if your happy place is raking leaves, and you're the best leaf raker out there, and you make a living, good for you. That's all that's all, But so, this idea that you said something, which was like you're trying to figure out how these pieces connect, right? And sort of what it becomes. Here's some of my sage wisdom for you, which is that don't try to figure it out. Just keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. Say yes to opportunities, yes to learning, yes to meeting new people. And you know what? It's going to come together. Like, never has somebody solved the riddle sitting down trying to solve the riddle. The riddle comes, the riddle gets resolved, right? Those pieces come together when we're not here with it, but we're here and we're just kind of living it. And it's just kind of floating around us and we're coexisting with it. And then you're like, oh, that's what it is. And I think it's going to be so beautiful to see how all of these parts of you, what it evolves into. And you don't have to do just one thing. You can do 10 things.
Yeah, it's the beautiful thing is I'm actually in the midst of taking all the elements that served me powerfully getting through.
Yeah.
That are a repeat and rinse with a lot of depth and a lot of heart. And the combination of my authority, of my life experiences mixed with my professional knowledge, and how those are such key elements to all things in life, but more specifically, whether it's somebody going through like a high-powered female who's a boss babe in all aspects of her life and is now faced with these unexpected life and health challenges and is now in uncharted waters. This is not her realm of she doesn't know shit from Shinola, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are the realms I step in and like, get out of my way. Get out. I mean, I'm with that. That's how I advocate for myself, let alone anybody I love. And now I want to like, okay, it's not only about advocating, it's about how you show up for yourself. It's how you self-care. It's all starts with the mind and the thoughts and the intentions and the decisions and the continuum of that flow, and yet how staying present in the now and in the breath is quieting the crazy, or quieting just the wandering, quieting just the and just hearing who and where you are in this moment, and allowing for that gentleness, and allowing for that loving and kindness, and allowing for yourself to know that you have the power to physically, mentally, and emotionally rewire and heal. And yeah, there are things called Eastern and Western medicines. And this, to me, is the closest thing for me to be that scientist, that artist, that loving, caring therapist, and wrap it all up in a blanket. And with this, along with my art of makeup and the importance of moving your body for all things, is like the culmination of everything that I'm definitely, that's the track, and that's the course of action. And okay, look. And that's the podcast. And that's the husband. I'm walking the dogs. And see, and that to me is the epitome of beautifulness, because that's how you stay present and go, yeah.
I mean, when the weather clears up, it's not pretty out here today, but my ranch is about 60 miles northeast of Los Angeles. And my closest, I call her my horse wife. She's my liberal friend out here. We're like the liberals in the middle of like pretty conservative police state. I'm like the Jews kind of keeping their head down out here right now. And anyway, she does yoga and Reiki, and we do yoga. She does yoga with her herd of horses. So we've got to get you out. Yeah.
Oh my God. With my love for animals and all, I mean,
the energy, just like, and that's, I mean, people are like, what do you become the crazy animal lady? And I was like, yes, I have. You know why? Because they're my therapy. I don't actually really like people, which is ironic considering what I do for a living. I mean, I think there's a lot of really good people, but there's also there's some ugliness out there. And like, I try not to, when I have to interact with it, and I have to like, come from a place of true intention of like helping somebody heal and grow, despite whether I think they're a good human being or not. I still have to do it. But then I go outside, and I'm with my horses, and I'm with the chickens, and I'm with the ducks, and I'm with the dogs and the cats. And I'm like, yes, this is, this is, where, I get grounded again.
100%. Yes, by the way, to coming up and being with the animals and doing the mindfulness work, because again, what people don't know, for many years, unless you're like our vet or whatever, there have been definitely many moments where I was showing other sides of me to these worlds that, because I'm also a certified or trained intuitive healer. I think everybody has intuition. Most people don't pay attention to it.
They're not listening.
No. And then, to that point, being an intuitive healer is fabulous, and working with a lot of healers is fabulous. What I love about this certification to me is like where Cedars or Warner Brothers or a individual is going to go, oh, okay, there's legitimate thing. Not because you wear it on your chest or whatever. I know for myself, no different than what you've done. It's a thing that brings from me, as I'm sure it did for you, like a sense of completion's not necessarily the right word, but a sense of, okay, I've now arrived. I can do this. It gives that moment where I took that time with the stuff that I learned from life and now wrapped it into this qualification that I can go legitimately help others.
Right. Yeah, it gives you some street credit.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. And I'm all about the yeses, and I'm all about being present, but I'm all about, like, how do we change the world for the better?
Oh God. Yeah, I hope that's how I'm remembered. I hope that my mark, right, my legacy is that I made somebody's life better.
I think that at the end of the day, like I said earlier, this is all one big illusion, right?
Yeah.
You can't take your wealth with you. You can't take all your baubles with you. You can't take your horses with you, sadly.
Right.
Or your dogs and cats and turtles and chickens and all the things. But what we can do while we're here, to the best of our ability. Now, look, I'm in the middle of the podcast. My husband doesn't understand why I can't turn and look at him while I'm trying to be professional and record. But if the tables were turned, I would not do that. This is not about him, by the way. This is just an example. But my point is that your ability to stay in this flow, stay in these moments, recognize these opportunities, look to making a better world out there. How do you leave impressions? How do you show up for others? All people are going to remember, Ashlee, is how you left them feeling.
Right. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no dollar amount in that.
No.
There's no like color me purple moment. There's no nothing. It's in such an internal thing that you can't, you don't see it. It just is.
Yeah.
So whether it's an animal that you're working with, or whether it's a human we're working with, or it's a culmination of all of the above, I know that I know this to be true of you, and I'm so grateful to connect with you in this level. And you and I didn't even get to discuss all the things because we're wrapping up in a couple minutes. I didn't even get to ask you, but it was such an important element to have this core contemporary conversation about. Still, we still really talked about 30 years, but it feels more like we just talked about the last 5 minutes of our life and how that has shown up and why. I just think it's so brilliant to be able to, and I want to recognize you and acknowledge you. I think it's so brilliant that you are so courageous and such an example of, if you decide that you put yourself first for the reasons that you don't even know how that's going to turn out, but you just know you've got to do it differently or else you're not going to get any better or different result. The fact that you made those decisions, whether they were challenging, whether they were, costly, whether they costly of what? Your life, your happiness, your sense of pride, your healthy environment, maybe for your daughter or yourself, or I don't have to know all the things. It's only matters for you. But how then you go out into the world and you get to put out that ripple effect is everything. Because that's all we are, is energy. All we is energy connected to one another. And this is how we connect. And it just so happens, obviously we connected when we were young women in our career in this other mystical sort of way. Who could have predicted that we would be
in a million years?
Hello?
Never in a, but isn't there something, You know, I told another survivor friend of ours, Renee Dashiell, that I was coming on to do this with you. And she's like, oh my God. She's another one teaching art.
As she should be.
Yeah, she said you guys are going to be fabulous together. And Renee and I, we often go like, man, we've been through some shit, but we're still here. You're still here. Here we are. Who would have thought, right? Like if there was a crystal ball or, you know, someone's like, hey, you guys, just know this moment that you're having connecting in this sort of, even though you may not really be speaking clearly about this, your traumatic experiences you're each are going through right now, just know that this moment of connection is going to come full circle in 30 years. And you guys are going to sit across from each other with a whole other set of life experiences. But that moment that you shared where you said, I see you, I see you, and I love you, and we're going to get through this, even though you didn't actually speak those words, you said it. And here you're going to be 30 years later, sitting across from each other, gray, menopause, no more uteruses, all this shit going on, right? Couple failed marriages, all kinds of shit. And you're going to go, you know what? I see you.
Oh my God, that was a multiple orgasm right there. That was awesome. That was brilliant and so true. You know, and I wanted to say on the tail end of that, it's so true. And I talk about the importance of planting seeds. And like a farmer, farmers don't know what they might know that they're planting seeds for corn or hay or broccoli or figs or whatever they're planting. They don't know how the weather is going to take seeds away or the birds are going to eat it up, or they don't know what their crop is going to show up looking like. They just believe. They have a purpose. They believe. They keep doing it. They keep doing it. They keep doing it. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example, the two of us, of just keep showing up, keep persevering, keep being an example. You're off both doing your things, but you're basically running a parallel life.
Totally.
We have been running a parallel life with different life experiences that culminate into there isn't anything you and I couldn't present on a stage and a subject you and I can talk about and lead a room of thousands and thousands of women.
Yeah, we could take our show on the road.
We will be, by the way.
Okay.
I'm planting that seed right now amongst all the things that I'm working on. Yeah,
one of my favorite expressions in my recovery work, and I don't think people realize what I'm saying, but you'll understand what I'm saying when I said, you know, sometimes we're just gardeners. That's it. We're just planting the seeds and walking away. That's all we can do.
That's all we can do. I always say it was delicious when you said, your mother said, you know, if raking leaves is like you do that well, go do that. Part of my meditation, and I've done actually a post on this, part of my meditation is sweeping our driveway, being thankful to have a driveway to sweep, taking me back to the foundation of my grandparents who instilled in me the value of, as did my parents, but the value of being grateful for what you've been able to create, getting on my hands and knees and getting my hands in the dirt and weeding, because that to me is a feng shui act of taking care of and cleansing and clearing so things can flow. And the last thing I'm going to say to wrap this up is you threw me back right now with what you just said to actually 2009. I had a gathering here at our house with only women. And I remember I started out with a list, and I'm sorry that because we weren't in our communication at that point, but that's here nor there because there's future, of course. But at the time, I had probably made a list of about 80 women. And then I remember, Ashlee, no, I need to cut this list back to like women who may not know each other, though some will, but who are really, really safe women. Which is not something I'm trying to sit in judgment about at the time. It was just I wanted to create a space that was safe. And I wanted to create a space that was not only safe, but that was celebratory. And it happened to be over Labor Day weekend of that year. And it happened to have fallen on my birthday, but was not meant to be a birthday gathering. But my takeaway and what I want to share here is you and I didn't know we were going through all this stuff. But here we are as this revelation of this connection we had, the seeds we planted back in the mid-90s. And here we are now in the 2023, sitting before each other with all this insane wisdom, insane life amounts of experience, with accreditations, with gratitude, with inspiration, with surviving and thriving and teaching and leading and doing all these things. We would have laughed at each other if we said, hey, by the way, 30 years from now, this is what we're going to be doing and blah, blah, blah. We would have been like, no fucking way. There's just no way. That's not the way I see it. Oh, Ashlee. Right. Well, I don't either, Felicia. Well, we better strap ourselves in because that's what it's saying that we're going to be doing. Okay.
Wrong crystal ball. Next crystal ball. Yeah.
And I said to these women, I literally took one moment through this party. And I said, I just want to take this moment for you all to look at each other. Some of you have never met. Some of you maybe haven't even met while in here, though I hope you do. But I want you to know that no matter what life faces you with, no matter what comes at you, no matter what you're stepping into or stepping out of, I want you to remember this moment of feeling so embraced by this beautiful, feminine, nurturing energy. That no matter what, be it great or be it scared, that you are being held up by this energy. And you will be safe, and you will do it, and you will get through in the most masterful way, and that we are not letting you down. And that's our commitment to one another. We're all running towards something and staying very present and grounded. I don't know if women knew what hit them because they really, they maybe individually, have had my moments, my Felicia moments, but I was just like, I had to. And I do want to, that's the world I want to step into. And you know what, Ashlee? In the world that we met in, I know that if I showed up like that, people would be like, I just said this in the last couple of weeks. I think people think when I walk in a trailer, and I don't know, I would never have said this. But I've been told one too many times that I'm a threat. And it's just like, come on, man.
Well, yeah, because if you don't fit inside the box, whatever the box is.
Right. Well, you know what?
And I appreciate you. And this has been beautiful for me.
Well, thank you for saying yes. Thank you for taking the time. I can't wait to connect off camera. And,
I know.
We're going to make that happen. And this has been genius. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it. It's been such a gift.
Thank you.
Love you.
Thank you, Lisa. Love you too.
Bye for now.
Bye. Bye for now.
So I just want to say that connection, community, conversations, gathering around the campfire is really something that I find is such an integral part of how we can raise each other up, how we can make a difference, how we can take up space and speak up for the things that we believe in and how we can inspire one another. On this holiday season, my gift to you all is that you find a way to do all those things, create conversations, connections, and see how in those conversations and connections you can make a difference in your life and many others. So from my heart to yours, much joy, much love, health and happiness, and safe and happy New Year. Bye for now.